What if taking time off wasn't something you had to earn, but something your business was built to support? Today, I'm sharing why I'm stepping away for 6 full weeks in a row this summer and how that decision has become one of the most strategic moves that I have made inside my business. And I want to walk you through how I've structured my programs, my team, my systems to make it possible, and why I believe rest isn't the opposite of success, it's actually the foundation of it. So, if you have ever dreamed of taking real time off, but felt afraid that everything would fall apart in your absence, this episode is your permission slip and your practical guide. Welcome to Herself, a space for women to have deep conversations about the intersection between spiritual entrepreneurship and fulfilling your potential, so you can become the woman you truly are in every area of your life. After being in business for over 2 decades, I've learned, as you likely have too, that as you grow your business grows you in unexpected, often challenging, yet miraculous ways. Here, we'll talk about how to get out of your own way so you can grow a business that's abundant and sustainable while allowing you to be a force for good in the world. I'll give you simple, actionable strategies as well as wisdom and inspiration to help you root into your wholeness, lead from your values, and work in ways that feel deeply aligned so you can bring your true self into the world through your business and in every area of your life. Let's talk about something that feels both radical and essential, especially in today's world, and especially for women business owners. And this is taking real time off. Not just a long weekend, not just a staycation where you're secretly checking emails. I'm talking about true sabbatical time where rest is a core part of your business strategy. Now, this year will be the 3rd year in a row that I'm taking the whole month of August off. And this year, the circumstances have arisen that I'm actually extending that to 6 full weeks. And it is a full season of stepping back to nourish, to reset, and to allow this next season of both my personal life and my business to take shape. And I know what some of you might be thinking, like 6 weeks, Sarah, that sounds amazing, but how is that even possible? What about my clients? What about income? What if everything falls apart while I'm gone? And what I have to say to you is I totally get it. And yeah, these were the thoughts that I had for years before I really made the decision to take the leap to do this. And here's what I've learned is that like the more that I am generous with myself in this way, just the better that everything else is, truly. So let me take you back to kind of how this came to be. For over a decade, I took 2 weeks off in August, the last 2 weeks of August and the last 2 weeks of December, and closed my business during that time. And that was a really beautiful rhythm and it really worked. And that felt really generous to myself and to my team. And I always dreamed of expanding that to a full month in August and eventually a full month in December. And so I took my first full month off in August in 2023. And then in 2024, I took the full month of August off and December. And so now I'm doing both. And this dream, it just wasn't just about having more vacation time. And I've known for years that I function the best when I really honor my natural rhythms and my constitution. And I function best when I'm not constantly on. That's when I can access deeper creativity, just feel more like myself. I need times of quiet, of stillness, of introspection, of being fully unplugged from the world. And that's really, really when I come back to myself. And that's really what allows me to bring my best work to the world. And, it's taken me some time in life to realize like, I get to live my life. I get to run my business in the ways that works best for me, not just in the way that the world says that I should do it or is most convenient for the world. And you probably know that feeling when you've been working intensely for an extended period of time. And you can feel yourself starting to operate from depletion rather than inspiration. And that is one of my least favorite feelings to have, especially the older I get, just the lower tolerance I have to stay in that state. And one of my former business coaches described it like this. It said that overworking starts to look a lot like underworking. And I totally agree. You just get like way less efficient and just way less creative. And that's a signal that I've really learned to honor and even like to back up from there so I can hopefully just not get to that place. And in our culture, we're taught to push past that feeling, to operate in that feeling. And, really pushing through diminishes the quality of everything that I create. I noticed that like my breakthrough ideas, my biggest insight, my deeper healing happens during those more extended breaks. And I return from my time off, which is with more clarity about what to move forward with, what to let go of, how to bring more simplicity and elegance to what I'm doing. And those things I would not learn if I had just been grinding it out for that time. So then what led to this shift 3 years ago where I moved from the 2 weeks in August to the whole month of August? Well, I realized I was, 45 at that time. Like, I'm not getting any younger. If I want to live this dream that I've been saying I want to do for a long time, why don't I just start now? Like, better late than never, right? Like, no better time than now, whatever the saying is. So I did it. And I restructured my business model to allow for a full month off in August and then in 2024 in December as well. And I didn't fully know how I was going to make it work. I had like a tentative plan. I wasn't sure if the plan would totally work, but that's how it is when we take any leap as business owners, as entrepreneurs. It's like, it's a risk. And I really had to rethink how I was delivering my programs. I needed to plan well in advance and rethink how I structured my client work and how I managed cash flow. And I had to have important conversations with my team, set up systems. And this has paid off in really, really incredible ways. And throughout this, my income has remained stable and even grown. Like, it has not dipped because I'm taking all this time off. And I feel like I'm actually making real, I don't want to necessarily use the word progress, but I feel really aligned. I feel really in tune to the work that is mine for me, the work that is here for me to do right now. And this time off just helps me to continue to see things more clearly and to make these brave decisions for my work and for my life. And then this year, 2025, I am expanding even further. I am taking a full 6 weeks off. Actually, it might even be more than that. I haven't counted it out on the calendar. Let me just check my calendar right now. So I am taking the last week of August off, of July off. Actually, the last 2 weeks. So the last 2 weeks of July, 2 weeks of July, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 months in August. Okay, so 7 weeks. I'm taking 7 weeks off, guys, this summer, which is a record for me. So I stand corrected for that it's a full 7 weeks off. And I'm getting married the first week of August. And it's just a really potent threshold in my life that deserves my full presence and attention. I want to be completely there and feel really resourced. And I don't want to be working right up until the wedding. And the week of the wedding, we're having a destination wedding in Santa Barbara. So family's going to be coming and all that. So I want to really be able to be with my family, with my friends. And so it's a week prior to that I'm not going to be working. So I can just have some space to myself to slow down, to just do some deeper reflections about this rite of passage for myself. And I just really want to give this the reverence that it deserves. And the day after our wedding, we are flying off for a honeymoon, which is another time that I really just want to be fully present for and not have my head full of business concerns. And then when we get back, just at the end of August, we are moving to France. So lots of big stuff during this time off, huge life changes. And when we realized we were moving to France at the end of August / beginning of September, I realized okay, it's not such a good time for me to return to work on September 1st, as I was originally planning. I don't want to just get to France and jump back into work right away. I want that first week to land. We're going to be staying in an Airbnb kind of indefinitely. So I want to just at least settle into our temporary home and to start to acclimate to this new location, to this new culture, to this new way of life. I know that's going to be a much more extended process, but at least during the first week, to not have anything else that I'm trying to, that's competing for my attention. So when I mapped all this out, I saw that really trying to squeeze work in between these major life events would be like trying to meditate in the middle of a construction site or something like that. It just wouldn't serve anyone. It wouldn't serve me. It wouldn't serve my fiance, my clients, my family, my team. So this year, my summer sabbatical stretches from late July to early September. So that's 7, not 6 full weeks of just being fully present to really one of the most transformative seasons of my life. And, as I look back at this year so far, 2025, this year I am taking more time off than I ever have in my entire life. And, this spring alone, I already took 4 weeks off, and we went to Italy for 2 weeks on a scouting trip. Then we went on a 1-week trip to Spain and Portugal on another scouting trip. And then we took off 1 week to pack up our home and just get things organized. What are we selling? What are we donating? What are we bringing over with us? And really just tending to more of the logistics of purging 90% of our belongings. So these 4 weeks, they were not vacations at all, but they were necessary. And I knew that kind of trying to keep up with things in my work while I was doing these things, which were physically intensive, whether it was like boots on the ground in Europe, scouting out places, or packing up our stuff and all the emotions that came with all of it. It just wouldn't make sense to try to pack all that in together. And then later this year, I'll take a week off around Thanksgiving and my birthday, and then 3 more weeks over the winter holidays. So, and again, my income isn't dropping amidst all of this, and I'm not dropping on any balls either. And this might challenge everything that you've been taught about building a business, where we're conditioned to believe that more hours equals more success, that being busy means we're being more productive, that time off is a luxury that we can't afford until we've, quote, made it to a certain level. But I really invite you to challenge that thinking and ask just, well, what if the opposite is true? Like, what if rest is actually the foundation for really sustainable success? And, so how to make all of this work, how to apply this to where you are in your life and in your work. And I'm not saying you need to take 7 weeks off this summer like I am. I feel like, this is who knows what future summers will bring, but this is not a usual summer for me. But the first thing is, like I did, you just need to make the decision, where I just said, okay, I'm 45 and I've been saying I want to do this. So why aren't I doing it? Why don't I just start doing it now and just figure it out? So if there's been something that you've been wanting to do, to take a summer off, to take a month off, or even just a week or 2 to start with, just get clear on what it is that you want and then commit to doing it. And again, you can start off smaller. So I started off with the 2-week stretch. And before that, it was even, I think, just a week at a time. And, it's like I built up to it, but don't wait another year to start putting the pieces in place, at least the preliminary pieces in place now. And this reminds me of Parkinson's law, which says that your work expands to fill the time allotted for it. Your work expands to fill the time allotted for it. So if you think you need to be working constantly, just really question that. Can you get the same results and even make the same money while working less? And so much of the world already lives this way if you look outside of US culture. And so I really asked myself what I truly wanted. And then I committed to doing it, to actually taking those steps. And then I was strategic and intentional and built my business model around it. And so here's how my business is structured to support this rhythm. Well, first, I have income diversification, and my income doesn't rely solely on one-on-one clients. So while I do offer one-on-one work, it's mostly through 3-month packages. And I make it clear that those packages do not happen in August or December. And this is non-negotiable for me. I communicate that from the very beginning. So it's just very clear for me and for my clients. And then I think about kind of the overall seasonal flow in my business, allowing my schedule to flow with the natural seasons. So like September to November is when I'm working, that's where I'll do like a 3-month immersion with clients. And then January, March, maybe another three-month immersion with clients in April to June, things like that. And then August and December are more rest and integration months for my clients and for the students in my programs. This isn't random timing. August and December, just in terms of nature's cycles, they naturally invite that kind of reflection and transition time. Like August is really like the quintessential summer month, and it's often considered to be a time when business is slower and people are expected to be out of the office more. And a lot of Europe is on vacation for the month of August. So it just seems like a natural time to step back more. And same with December. December is the darkest part of winter, at least in the part of the world that I live in, and everything is invited to deeper rest and regeneration. And again, it's a time where businesses close down and it's expected that things are going to be slower. So those are just also easier times to step back and not have it be too disruptive for other people. And then I think about my program structure. So my signature program, Herself CEO, it runs in like a 5-month cohorts, and that actually spans over 6 months. But one of those months is either going to be August or December. And that's when we pause. And those months become then these intentional breaks for both me and my students. And when we pause in that way for that month, it really supports integration to kind of catch up on things that maybe gone behind on some program materials, to kind of help reduce the overwhelm that can come from constantly learning and implementing without time to digest. So I find that works really well for everyone and not just myself. And then there's also complete disconnection. So I hear a lot of people going on sabbaticals and they're still checking in with their teams and they're still on social media. And you do you, but that's not how I do it. And I just can't imagine doing it that way. Like I would not nearly get the value out of my time off if I was not fully off. So when I go on sabbatical, on vacation, I am off email. I'm off social media. I'm not checking in at all with my team, and period. I'm just completely disconnected. And this might sound scary, but it actually really allows me to drop into that deeper rest and creativity. That is actually the whole point of me taking time off. And you know how your best ideas, a lot of the times they come when you're in the shower and you're on a walk, and that's because your mind finally has a space to wander and connect dots that really couldn't connect when it's focused on tasks or staying in more of that, in neuroscience, it's called the beta state, or more of like a stress state in your mind where you're just like pinging from like one notification to the next. And then, it's really important to create a business that can run on systems. Like a business that runs without you needs systems, and not because you want to be absent all the time, but you also want the freedom to be absent when you want to be absent or when you need to be. And so for me, this looks like standard operating procedures, or SOPs. And we have really detailed SOPs stored in our team Google Drive. And these are organized by category. So we have SOP folder for customer care, for one-on-one mentoring, for Herself CEO, for social media, etc. And then within each of those folders, we have separate Google Docs with step-by-step instructions for every recurring task that's needed to kind of keep that piece of the business operating, whether it's a task that's done once a year or once a day. And this really allows things in my business to continue to run smoothly when I'm away and even when I'm here. So I'm not needing to myself do everything and reinvent the wheel. And it also just gives my team a lot more autonomy. And then project management is huge. So we use the project management software Asana. We use the free version of that. And before I leave, we have recurring tasks for my team that's just like week by week or sometimes monthly or quarterly tasks that just recur naturally. But I might also load up some tasks to be done while I'm away. And so I'll do that during, the second, third week of July, right around the time that this episode is coming out. I'll map out what needs to be done while I'm gone, assign it to the right person, set the deadlines. And so that just helps to keep things running smoothly as well. And then also something that helps is like, not only do I align my programs with these rhythms, but also my entire company. So we close completely for the last 2 weeks of August and for December. And so this means that just the whole business gets a rest during that time. And that simplifies things. So that way, I'm only gone. Well, this summer I'll be gone for 5 weeks of that time rather than 7. But, for instance, in December, then I'll be gone for 2 weeks of it rather than the full 4 weeks. And then another big piece is content batching, and to really make sure that I have things going out while I'm gone. So like this episode is coming out while I'm already on my sabbatical, and I'm just in the beginning, maybe a few days of it, where I'm starting to sink into preparing for my wedding. And I have prepared this in advance and scheduled it for when it needs to go out. And this really helps to kind of make sure there's a steady flow of things going out to all of you, even when I am personally disconnected. And, all of this is not about being a perfectionist or controlling every detail, but it's like being responsible to the people who depend on me, like my clients, my team, my audience, while also being responsible to myself. And then, of course, just transparent communication. And as I've said, we communicate clearly with everyone in our community, my clients, in our programs. They know that this is how things work, so they can just make a conscious choice when they step into these containers. Our customer care email, when we're closed for our holidays, has an autoresponder explaining that we're closed and when we'll be returning. And, then when it comes time to step back, I actually do step back. And, I've learned that those kind of first 2, maybe 3 days can be transitional time. Like little thoughts will pop up like, oh, I forgot to add that to Asana, or I need to make a little note of that. So there might be like little things that I'm just popping in to add so that my mind can then completely rest. But after maybe the first day or 2, like all those little pieces have been ticked off and I'm starting to shift into a slower rhythm. So when I log out for my sabbatical, I log out of social media. I turn on my own email autoresponders outside of the company's email. And I just become more unavailable to the world, so I can be more available to myself. And at different times, I'll even be away from my own phone and from texts and all that. And definitely during our honeymoon, I will be completely unplugged. And, this year, this feels more important than ever to, like I said, just to be fully present for my wedding, for my beloved, for our honeymoon, for our move to France. And I just don't want to divide my attention between my work and these once in a lifetime experiences. I want to live this chapter as fully as I possibly can. And I'm really grateful for the business that I've built that makes it possible for me to do this. I give a lot to my work. It brings me a lot of joy, and service is a really primary part of my life. It's just one of my deepest passions to be of service. But for service to be sustainable, I need to be really, really generous with myself. And, this is something I'm learning in deeper ways as I'm getting older. So I want to acknowledge, this approach to business is countercultural here in the US. I'm very aware of that. We live in a culture that glorifies burnout, that treats exhaustion as a badge of honor, and that makes us feel guilty for resting. I definitely felt it. But I've learned from other countries, living in Thailand for many years and European countries, how to live slower, more joyfully and more intentionally. And in France, where I'm moving to, it's normal to take long vacations, to take the whole month of August off. And it's expected that businesses close for that time. And rest isn't seen as laziness. It's seen as really essential for creativity and for well-being. So it feels aligned that I'm moving to a culture that already embraces these values, and kind of feels like I won't need to constantly be defending my choice to not be in constant productivity. And, when I model this for other women, I'm not just changing my own life. I'm giving you permission to question the story that to whatever degree you hold it, that you need to sacrifice your well-being for your clients, for your work, for your family. And every time a woman sees another woman thriving and prioritizing herself, it just can expand what she believes is possible for herself. So what if success isn't about how busy you are or how many hours you work? What if it's about how in tune you feel with your values, how present you feel in your life, how good your day-to-day pace feels, and how much joy you experience along the way? What if we made our metrics more qualitative and not just quantitative? And again, I want to reiterate, I know that 7 weeks might not be feasible for you right now, but some version of extended rest or time off probably is. And so here's how to start. Well, one, start where you are. So maybe it's just a week and not 6. Maybe it's taking Fridays off in the summer. Maybe it's taking a half day off each week in the summer. Maybe it's a long weekend once a quarter where you disconnect. So really the specific amount of time matters less than just the quality of your disconnection, that you actually do disconnect. And then plan in advance. So whatever you choose, just put it in your calendar now. Make the decision, treat it as non-negotiable, like a client meeting or another important deadline. And because if you wait until you have the time, right, it'll never happen. And then examine your beliefs. So what stories are you telling yourself about why you can't take time off? Like, my clients need me, the business will fall apart, I can't afford to lose the income. Really question these and ask, is this absolutely true? And what evidence do you have for and against them? And then start small but be consistent. So it's better to take a long weekend every quarter consistently than to take 1 3-week vacation like every few years. Like, you need regular rest, not just occasional relief. And create systems. So even if you're just taking a long weekend, create some basic systems. Write down what needs to happen while you're gone. Set up autoresponders. Let people know how to reach you if a real emergency arises versus what can wait. And honor your rhythm. So pay attention to when you naturally want to slow down. So for me, again, it's late summer and early winter. And for you, it might be different. But the goal isn't to copy my schedule, though you're welcome to if you want to, but it's to create one that really honors what feels like your own natural pacing and rhythms. So these are the steps that have made this possible for me. And again, it's taken years to be able to build up to being able to do this. And, it's been worth every challenging conversation, every system I've created, every old belief that I've had to release along the way, because, here's what I've learned. Rest isn't the reward. It's really the foundation for meaningful, sustainable service and leadership. When I'm rested, I make better decisions. When I'm rested, I'm more creative. When I'm rested, I am more generous to others. And perhaps most importantly, when I am rested, I model for other women that they don't have to choose between success and well-being, that they can have both. So as I prepare to step away for these next 7 weeks, I am filled with gratitude for a business that supports me in this choice, for my team that helps make it possible, for the clients who trust me enough to let me disappear and return renewed. And I'm excited to see what emerges on the other side of this time off. And, I know some of my biggest breakthroughs have happened during these sabbaticals. So I invite you to consider, what would a more radical rest look like for you in your life and work? What would become possible if you prioritized it as much as your productivity? And I know that you don't need my permission, but if you are looking for it, here it is. You deserve rest. You deserve to step away. You deserve to build a business and a life that honor your need for renewal. And as always, thank you for being here. And from next Sunday through the end of August, I will be re-airing some of the most loved episodes that I've shared here over the past few years. And I will be back with you in September from France with some new episodes and ready to dive into this next season of this beautiful work that we get to do here together in this beautiful journey of life and spiritual entrepreneurship. So until then, I am sending you abundant permission to rest, courage to honor your rhythms, and the reminder, which I know you already know, but it's always good to have a refresher, that your well-being is not selfish, it is truly essential. Thank you for joining me today. And remember, change doesn't come from listening alone. I invite you to commit to taking one small or large, courageous action after today's conversation. One step you can take, if you haven't already, is to sign up for my Sunday journal. It's a weekly newsletter filled with inspiration and reflections about the intersection between spiritual entrepreneurship and fulfilling your potential to help you become the woman you truly are in every area of your life. You can subscribe at programs-sarahavonstover.com/journal. And if you found this podcast valuable, please share it with the women in your world. Also, I'd be very grateful if you'd leave a review. It helps others find resources like this, and I'd love to hear what's coming alive for you after listening today. Above all, keep going, and never forget the unique offerings you and your true self bring to the world. Until next time, I'm sending you my heartfelt support.